guys ready? You better be ready, because it's almost showtime. Come on. Let's do this. Yeah! Hey, guys! Welcome to the One Up Weekly Live! Ralphie wants to talk about arcades, and I said that was okay. But we will not talk about Raspberry Pis, lest you hit one in the chat, but that doesn't rhyme. Anyway, guys.
Dude.
Yeah.
Okay, so he told me before the show he was going to do something, and he wanted to tell me really bad, but he didn't. That was actually really cool.
Yeah, I thought we'd have a little fun today.
That's awesome. So hey guys, welcome back to the show. So we have an interesting show today. We thought we'd revisit a topic because what had happened, with the whole like $50 cab thing. A lot of people had acquired, arcade one-ups where they got these for really good prices. And so now everyone's kind of wondering, like, what am I going to do with my cab now? So not only will this show and what we talk about apply to arcade one-up, it apply to any other like DIY kit you buy, even your at games to an extent. Although, we'll get into a little bit of that because a lot of the things you do with an arcade one-up to mod it, that game sort of already has in it. So you wouldn't necessarily apply all these concepts. But we're going to cover everything or as much as we can. Everything from aesthetics, which we'll start with, things like lit marquees and artwork. And then we'll go into like, how do you run the games? Because there's a bunch of options for that. And some are like more difficult. Like there's definitely, and Justin and I are going to talk about this, but there's all sorts of parts of the spectrum. And some of them where you enter is like based on the experience that you have.
That's right. To recap, there's been a lot of people that we've been communicating with lately, and we realized they've just joined the community kind of more recently, and so maybe they haven't watched a lot of the shows that we have done, or maybe watched some of the videos that Ralph did on modding. And so we wanted to kind of help out and kind of break down. One angle that I was kind of thinking about it was like, why are they modding the arcade one-up cabinets? And I wanted to talk about that just for a moment. What do you think, Ralph? In my opinion, the arcade one-up cabinets are pretty good, but some people don't necessarily, say like they pick up a Pac-Man cabinet, but they wish it was a Miss Pac-Man.
Yeah.
So that one's just like the cosmetic modding, and so they can get that Pac-Man cabinet for maybe $300, but then they're going to change the skin on it. So we're going to be talking about that, breaking that down. There's other people that want to add more games. Right. And so that's kind of a whole other class of modding. So we're going to break it down, and we'd like to know what type of modder you are. So in the chat, you maybe mention how many cabinets you have, maybe how many you've modded, and what type of mods that you're looking to do.
Yeah, no, definitely. So we started off the show with a super chat from Sling Spade. Thank you for that. Let's get to the question really quick because we're talking about it. It said, fun question for Dr. Justin and Dr. Ralph. In the Arcade One-Up sweepstakes, what games did you put down that you wanted to see? So,
you remember this? We called
was
each other around right when that happened, and I think we're on the same page with it, right?
I don't know, because I think I changed mine after what you and I said. So I actually want to see them do more things they haven't done before, right? That's what I want to see them do. Mm-hmm. I want to see them do light guns, and I want to see them do racing. Now you could argue that like Star Wars is sort of the beginning of that when you have the yoke movement. I mean, if you can get that movement down, then you could kind of replace that with a steering wheel. So I think that concepts are already kind of there. They've got the positioning right. So yeah, I want to see those types of things.
Yeah, I agree with you. Kind of the general idea was we weren't talking about what exact games they would do. Right, like I'm okay, like the racing game, right? There's a couple list of racing games that if they did any one of those or all of them on one cab, I would be cool with. And again, because of the modding, that would become another base to be able to do your mods on. And some people have done that with their Star Wars. They've basically taken the Star Wars, said this is my base, and now I'm going to modify it so it can play other racing games.
And we get, as we're looking at the chat, there's a lot of people that put in things like they want racing games, they want light guns, they want some of the classics we haven't seen yet, like X-Men, The Simpsons, Primal Rage, and all these things, like all the kind of points you guys are saying. Spy Hunter, racing for sure, or kind of in that genre. It's interesting because, part of the reason why people actually mod their cabs is exactly what you guys are saying. They're like, oh, well, I don't want to wait for one up to do that, so I'm going to do it myself. So for those people that have that the creativity and the ability to do it, there's a bunch of people online, myself and a bunch of other ones that go and try to like teach people basic concepts, and then they kind of take it from there. I mean, a lot of times, Justin, this from stuff you've done on your channel with console modding, people will take something that you do and they'll oftentimes like make it better, right? They'll go and improve upon an idea. So it's pretty cool. But we are going to get into, let's jump into the aesthetics, because I feel like that kind of feeds into what we're talking about already too.
That's right.
Yeah. So aesthetics, what are the things that you can change? So these are things that you may change without sort of changing the main, system that's running your games. So the first one that people always want, they talk about it all the time. Like, I want to light up marquee.
Right.
Why do they want that? I mean, Justin, I know every arcade I ever went to as a kid, all the games had light up marquees. It's like a staple for what an arcade game should look like. So, I mean, to me, I want it just because it's what I remember it looking like.
Right.
What
and the
about you?
reason,
Like, what's your...
well, the reason why people want to do a light up marquee is because the first generation of arcade 1-up cabinets didn't have light up marquees at all. It wasn't until, was it Golden Tee was the first one, and that's considered kind of their second gen. By then they had already had like 8 cabinets out, So
yeah, that was actually their first one that they did the light up marquee on. Yep.
That's right. So there's an entire generation of cabinets that don't come with a light up marquee. And so that has caused several different companies to make upgrade kits for light up marquee, and a lot of people are buying them. And in fact, they're so popular that arcade1up.com now sells their own light up marquees as well for that
not yet.
First generation. Well, they're available. They're showing the price. I think it's $80 free shipping. And then you can click to get notified, when it's become available. So we were told when we were at CES they were aiming for later this year at that time. Who knows, because a lot has obviously changed. But anyway, there are other companies already that make light up marquees, right? And Ralph, you know them pretty well.
Yeah. So I'll start with the one I worked with exclusively in the beginning. So in the beginning, when I started modding these cabinets, there was no one making them. There was no light up marquees at all. So you couldn't go and buy one. So we'd hack them together and make some. I made a couple. They were all right, but they definitely weren't as good as the guy that entered. The guy that kind of made the biggest splash was this guy, Scott Evans, and he owns a company called Arcade Game Factory. So his were by far the best at the time, and there was a couple little things that he had with it that people would complain about. They'd complain about light bleeding from the sides and things like that.
Right.
He's now done he's on his 4th or 5th revision at this point, and he's got all that stuff taken care of. He's constantly innovating. But then, as others started entering the market, we had some enter the market and leave, like people that made light up marquees, and then there was maybe that didn't work out for whatever reason. They're not doing it anymore. The latest guy that's more of an independent, where Scott Evans has a website and it has an online store. Angel Otero, who's got he has a big name in the space, but you have to actually contact him directly. There's no online presence for it. I think he probably can't get them out as quickly, but he does a really good job. So people tend to use those too. Now there's other people I know that are already selling other items in the space that are actually thinking about getting into the marquee space. And then you do have a bunch of people that maybe are lesser known that'll do single one-off things. But the one I have the most experience with is Scott's. Pretty much every one I buy is Scott's. I have yet to actually, I had one of Angel's. I didn't actually install it, but it was very well made. The artwork was very good. So those two guys stand out to me. So those are the ones right now that I would really talk about. If you really are interested, I'd check either one of those guys.
So
out.
I think we should make a quick pause on the show that we're having right now, and let's address some of the chat. So we got a super chat. Thank you so much, Slingslate. Because do you guys think Silver Strike Bowling is coming?
So I changed my tune on this, and the reason why is that they've kind of gone dark on the whole concept. So it was my feeling, right? This is my feeling. I have no data to back this up. Is that the reason why it was off the floor is because it was conceptual, because there was other conceptual cabinets right next to it. This one, I think they might have been leaning in a bit, and maybe they hadn't fully gotten agreement with Incredible Technologies. I haven't heard a lot on it yet, so it could be one of those things where they're holding it close to the chest and don't want anyone to know.
Mm-hmm.
But my gut is, if I go based on what my feel is it's not going to come out.
Yeah. Another thought. Bozo. He says, "Hey Ralph and Console, how do you guys love your new Pac-Man? It's very loud, like the first Pac-Man cab." So yeah, we've been talking about that recently. In fact, let's be honest. Earlier today, we had a conversation about the Pac-Man, and we know, we brought up and mentioned, and other people have mentioned too, that the new Pac-Man cabinet is really loud. I even said a funny joke to Ralph. It's like, on one side we're like, man, the Pac-Man cabinet is like really, really loud, and that's a bad thing. Dude, did you hear? There's a new cabinet coming out pretty soon called the III Arcade. It's going to be really loud. It's going to be awesome. That's just a funny joke, because on one side it's like a good thing to be loud, and the other thing it's a bad thing to be loud. Really, the problem is you can't turn it down, right?
Yeah.
But
so
overall, we do really love the Pac-Man cabinet.
So I like it. There's a couple things that obviously, I'll do the quick hitting things. Like if you look at it, it's behind me. And by the way, someone in the chat did notice. I saw the chat flew by. It's really hard, guys, by the way. I wish we could get to every single chat, whether it be a super chat or a non-super chat. It's just really hard because you guys are really active, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But I brought the Marvel superheroes back from the storage unit. It's back in the room again. So I don't know if you see it. And there's a reason for that. And I'll tell you, actually, let's save that, Justin. I'd put this in the advanced mod category. There's something I'm going to do to that I think you guys are going to really think is cool. So we'll save that for the end. And remind me, because I do this sometimes where I'll say it and I don't get to it.
All right.
But back to the Pac-Man. There's a couple things that I understand people, they're putting a lot more weight on Arcade 1-Up and making sure that they're closer to Arcade Authentic. I'd say the Marquee is pretty far back. It's further back than, obviously, I have a Miss Pac-Man Galaga, the 20th anniversary downstairs, the full size. It does go back a little bit, but it's not that dramatic. But I actually think it's kind of cool. I like it. So I like the way it looks. My only issue with it is, the more I look at the sides of it, the more I wish the wood flowed down all the way, because then it kind of looked more like the Cabaret cabinet did in the past.
Keep in mind, right? Okay, obviously, you could hate on Arcade 1-Up all you want. You can hate on this new Pac-Man cabinet, or you can take positive on it. So I think they will come out with a fix for the sound, first of all, because I hope they don't ship out new PCBs, because they could just give us the firmware update. They could give us the tool that allows us to update the internals of it, because I think it's really a software issue. If they want to do a PCB swap, fine, that's cool. But they could also give us, kind of like they did with the restrictor gate for the Burger Time, be like, oh, for the first wave of the 40th anniversary, here's a little inline thing that you can get, for, it probably cost them like $5 or whatever. It's a volume control, right? To fix that.
Yeah.
And
so
the other things,
I did have a fix that worked. If you put on the desk cam really quick, I'll show you. So this was like a really cheap fix that I came up with. It was just this little thing called it's really a ground loop isolator. So what you do is you plug this into this would not be the typical application for something like this, by the way, but you plug this into the PCB, and then you just plug the speakers into the other end of this ground loop isolator. This is one solution. And the reason why I went with this is because it's like $10. Like one of these things is like $10.
Right.
So it did work. It reduced the volume a lot. It did cut down on the top end. So we can go back to you and I, Justin. Sorry.
Okay.
It does. I was trying to click it and I couldn't figure it out. It does kind of reduce the top end of the volume. The other option you could have is just put an inline volume control. So what you'd do is you'd put an inline volume control, and then you would dial that. You'd basically have to toggle the two. So you find a good happy medium where your one setting is soft enough for you, and then from that point you don't touch the inline volume control anymore, and you exclusively control it by the cabinet. Now I will say, you buying a product, I don't agree that you should have to go and spend money and do that yourself. I'm just saying that is an option if you didn't want to wait, because they are aware of the problem. Now I don't work for Arcade 1-Up, so I can't tell you whether or not they're going to actually have a solution, but they do know about it, and they say they are looking into it. So just, if you're patient and can deal with it, maybe you could just put a piece of tape over the over the speaker for now, just to kind of reduce the noise.
It totally sucks that it's like that. I don't know. It'd be really cool if like somehow they could make a system where a select set of people could get early the cabinets, you know, and then like test them out, and we would give feedback. And
so I'm going to go on a tangent really quick here. So
Mm-hmm.
there was someone in the community that proposed a plan, and if you guys rally behind this, so let's do a little quick poll, because there was someone in the community that put a proposal actually on Scott Baccarat's desk. It was multiple options for him to do a program where users in the community could opt in, and they'd only have so many. Like maybe they'd pick 5 people, right? And those 5 people would get the cabinets that early, right? And maybe they were blank cabinets and they'd get the PCB, whatever it was, they would get access to it. They would do the evaluations and then they'd send the feedback. And the program even had things in there like rewards, where like if you got so many done, you know, or your feedback was very thorough, you could gain points that you could use for purchases and all sorts of stuff. To me, I thought this was awesome. Like, to me, this is like, it's the time is probably now for them to do that. Because let's be like completely open on this. Anyone that was, if the person isn't a 90-year-old deaf guy, you would have
you just offended 1,000
like,
90-year-old deaf men.
Well, if you're 90 years old and you're deaf, you crank the TV up. I would. I'm
Right.
probably gonna be old and have my ear. Well, I'm gonna be old, I hope, unless I just die. But I mean, you know. But you know, like when you're older, even my stepfather, he cranks that thing up pretty high, but his hearing isn't as good. But yeah, it should have got caught, but it didn't, you know? So,
Yeah.
oh, CT is like, oh my God, I'm 90. You're not 90. Yeah, it's funny. But Stringer Films, I agree with him. We're going way off the topic, by the way, but it's fun conversation. He said number one best thing was that they lean the screens back.
Yeah.
I love the screen leaning back.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool. Now, there is one thing I wanted to share with you guys that could be really cool. So there is someone in the community, but I'm not going to name their name because it's a prototype and it's not a finished product.
Oh,
but there's someone in the community that's building a modified marquee for the new Pac-Man that makes it look more like the original, makes it look kind of more like the 20th anniversary. So the marquee will be back, but it won't be as far back. And if you guys remember those old systems, it's leaned back, but you have this big black section and then your speakers in the middle. So it will look way more like the original. That's kind of cool. But again, if you pay $400, you may be like, well, I don't want to spend that money doing that. But if you're really into Pac-Man,
maybe you do.
Yeah, but if you're really into Pac-Man, you're like, man, I want this thing to look a little bit more the way I want. That could be kind of cool. So anyway, we went off on a wicked tangent.
So
there.
where
It was
we
all
were,
good conversation.
Yeah, where we were is we were talking about the aesthetics, right? For a little bit, we were like, Angel Otero. We got Scott Evans with the light up marquees. I think. Are we on to full artwork kits?
Yeah, so there's full artwork kits. Yeah, so that's the other option, right? It's like, well, maybe you just want it to look different, but you don't really want to do a full mod. Now, you can do artwork kits both ways. You can do the artwork kit because you want to do a full mod, or you can do artwork kits because you just want it to look different, right? People do either one. There might be someone that buys the Marvel cab and's like, crap, I love the Punisher is my favorite game on there.
Right.
I want Punisher artwork. You can do that. Right? You can do a Punisher marquee and all that stuff. So there's a lot of people in the community that do this.
Yeah, and Dr.
So
Zohar makes a really good point. The aesthetics is 90% of the nostalgia piece, and
it's true.
It's so true.
But that may be why someone, if you're picky, Justin, right? Like if you're really, really picky and you're like, man, because we're hearing it already. There's a lot of people that are super picky about the way it looks, and they loved the burger time because they nailed the burger time. They nailed, man. The burger time is cool. Now, a lot of people they didn't nail the controls, but they definitely nailed the aesthetics of it. So you may want it to look, exactly, but some people are a little bit maybe picky and going, no, the Pac-Man, I don't like the way it's recessed like that. But that's okay. You just don't buy it if you don't like it. But if you like it a lot and you go, oh, wait, I'm going to wait for a mod option or try to modify it myself, that's cool too. That's what's cool about this hobby is like, what I loved about the one-ups was that they're so easy to work with that it's kind of like a clean slate that you can sort of do whatever you want with,
That's right.
That's why I think it's cool.
There's another set of mods that people can do. So let's say you have
did we want to talk about the vendors in that space real quick before we jump on to the next one?
Yeah.
Just like, yeah. So is that where you were going or?
No. Go ahead.
So the full artwork kits is a bunch of different vendors in the community. So Tyler Goodman over at Arcade Graphics was like literally one of the first ones that focused on kits for 1-ups. So he's very well known. There's lots of people out there that use his kits, so definitely go check him out. And it's Arcade Graphics. After the show, I'll put all the links, and I actually will, Justin. So don't bust on me.
Okay.
You've got guys like Joe Szabo. He's kind of the higher end of the kits, right? He can do things like reverse mounted, graphics where you actually have your top acrylic top is actually all reverse printed. It's really, really nice stuff. So it just depends on the pricing spectrums you want to go. You got another one that I've used a little bit is Game On. Is it Game On Graphics, I think? Yeah, Game On Graphics I've used a lot. Now Game On, they have a whole portal where you can upload your artwork. So if you're someone that likes to do your own artwork, you're skilled enough to do that, you can create all your own artwork and upload your files to them. So those are 3 vendors that I've used quite a bit. Game On Graphics I've used a lot. I've used Tyler a lot, and I've definitely used Joe Szabo. So there's a lot of guys out there that do the artwork.
Yeah, but not only could you reskin
Escape
it, right?
Pod. Sorry, I totally forgot about Escape Pod.
Yeah, so that's if, let's say you wanted to turn a Pac-Man into a Miss Pac-Man. That's like a simple example. But maybe you have a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, and you don't want to reskin it, but you just want to make it look better. So that cabinet did not come with a light-up marquee. So maybe you want to add a light-up marquee. But you can also like replace the kick plate, because the current kick plate, the one that they sell just has the logos of the game. So maybe you want like a full kick plate, or what is it called? The J board, is that what it's called? Like the piece
one right below the control panel.
Right, you could add that skin. So again, on that one, you're not modifying the inside of it. You're only adding additional skin to the current one, or maybe it's the riser, right? So Team NT is a bad example for that because it's already got a custom matching riser. But maybe it's like the Street Fighter cabinet that you bought, and you want the artwork on the actual riser to match. And of course, Arcade 1-Up did come out with a riser for Street Fighter. I think that one was like a little plain for me, but if I was to, I'd probably go third party on that one for like a Street Fighter.
Now I forgot a bunch of, excuse me, because there's so many more vendors now in the space that I forgot. I didn't leave out Tulsa. We're actually going to talk about Tulsa a little bit later, because Tulsa's kind of got like a corner on a couple items where they do those like exceptionally well. And then the other cool thing about Tulsa is Tulsa Arcades is starting to, and JC is a really nice guy. I'm friends with him. Really good guy. He so is Justin, and he's getting into some other new things too. So there's some new ventures for JC, which are really cool. Escape Pod's a great place for artwork. Now the differentiator between like all the others and like Escape Pod and Joe Szabo is they also do full size graphics for full size cabinets. So I've used both Escape Pod and Joe Szabo for full size artwork too. Game On Graphics also does full size artwork. Now I think Tyler might one off that stuff, but he's more specializes in the the Arcade 1-Up type stuff. Now I don't know. I hear this name come up a lot. I haven't worked with him before, but I guess Mr. Profit is someone that does great artwork as well. And then I don't want to forget this guy's name because he's a very good artist. Shoot, Justin, it's going to kill me if I don't bring up his name because I messed it up one time before. He's really good. He made my Miss Pac-Man Galaga. He's awesome. He actually just wrote a post today making fun of me. Oh, Brandon Bolts. Brandon Bolts is really good. He did my Miss Pac-Man Galaga artwork and he nailed it. So I don't know if Brandon engages outside of just custom jobs, but he did that as like a custom job and then he gave the artwork to Tyler after. So, and there's another guy in the, there's a couple other guys in like the field that will do the artwork, right? They'll hand do the artwork. So it's pretty cool.
So I think we're good there on the aesthetics. Now we got to drive in to the inside, right? So the inside of the cab, let's talk about that. The PCB that comes with the Arcade 1-Up cabinet, let's say the first generation, a lot of them only come with maybe 2, 3, 4 games. They do have a 12-in-1. Now there's a 7-in-1 with Pac-Man. And some people desire to have more games, right? So they want to be able to add more games to it. And one of the easiest ways is just to remove the PCB that's inside there and replace it with something more general purpose. General purpose could be a PC, like an actual with Windows installed. Could be a Raspberry Pi, which is Linux-based. And there's a lot of images out there like RetroPie and ROMs that you could get at various websites that are just plug and play. Or there's like a Pandora's box, which is really similar to a Raspberry Pi, except for they're sold ready to go, from China. So let's break it down that
Well,
category.
and then there's one other category you could almost add to that. So
What's
there's
that?
arcade PCBs.
That's
so
right.
Like if you want to do like if you go back to the early days of my channel, one of the things that excited me the most about Arcade 1Up is that I was like, oh, I'm gonna go and build original. I'm gonna put original boards in it and build single games for systems that Arcade 1Up wasn't doing at the time. So that was pretty cool. But that's your more advanced option, right? But if you look at the table, we have a couple things here right now that we can talk about before we get into like there's different levels of effort, right? So we've got Pi 4. So a Pi 4 is like the brand new Pi, right? It's newer Pi. So there's a lot of images popping up for Pi 4, but it's relatively new. This one actually has 2 fans on the top because it's overclocked. But so like Pi 4 is a good option, and it actually it's more powerful than the 3B of old or the Pi Zero, but there's less options for it right now because it's still relatively new. So, RetroPie isn't perfected on it yet, but it does work pretty well. But your images, the most images you're going to find are all on the 3B, the 3B Plus, which is this guy right here. So just keep that in mind that if you're going down this path, there's going to be lots of images, and you're going to have the most flexibility, but there's going to be certain games that maybe you can't run because the 3B doesn't have quite as much power as the Raspberry Pi 4 does.
Right.
So I like the Pis from the sense that it's mature. There's a lot of people writing, images for it and modifying images for it. Everyone knows about Arcade Punks. You can go there. There's a million images you can download.
See, that's key, I think. So back up just for a second. Imagine you have a PC. You have a Raspberry Pi. You have Pandora's Box. You have a 16-1, and you have a Mister. All of these are capable of being plugged into your Arcade 1Up. Which one? Yep. There's a lot of people that say, oh my God, you have to get a Raspberry Pi. Why? And the answer of why is not because the actual hardware of the Raspberry Pi. The Raspberry Pi itself is it's not what makes it great. It's the community and the images.
100%.
The community where they're like, hey, drop this in. There's 50 million ways to do it. There will be a point where Mister will have enough images out there, because really, if you think about it, there's an SD card and a Raspberry Pi. There's an SD card and a Mister. I can send you my SD card image, and it will for either one, and then you're like set up. Everything else is just HDMI and input controls. And to be fair, if you played around with Mister, the input controls are easier than a Raspberry Pi.
It is
on
actually
the
easier.
Mister. It's so much easier to set up whatever type of controls you want on Mister versus Raspberry Pi.
Yeah.
Now, on the Raspberry Pi, they have beautiful interfaces where you can select the games. Mister does not. But if you just care about playing the game, Mister will play the game 10 times better. And the reason why Mister isn't as popular as Raspberry Pi is it's newer, hasn't matured, and there's not drop-in images out there. But people are going crazy about CoinOps. Why? Because CoinOps follows that same model. I can give you my CoinOps build that has 10,000 games in it. You unzip it, and it just works, which is very similar to load this on your SD card for a Raspberry Pi or load this on Mister. That's what makes those things great. If all of those become equal, then it becomes, what's the hardware like on your PC? What's the hardware like on your Raspberry Pi? What's the hardware like on your Mister? And now you can see the difference. And I think Raspberry Pi is easy only because it's easy to download the images.
Well, it's easy to download the images, and then the thing is too, you can go and buy. So the reason why I like the Pi, for like if I'm teaching someone new or someone like comes to me and says, hey, I don't know a lot about this, I need something that's pretty simple. It's really easy to walk someone through it, because the set of encoder boards that everyone uses is these encoder boards called Zero Delay. They work pretty well. They've now almost got them to the point where plugging in the buttons is like ultra simple. So you can't really mess up plugging in the buttons. When you plug those encoders USB plug into your Pi, and when you boot up your Pi image, it's going to say, I've detected 2 controllers, and it lets you configure them. They just pretty much work. Now, there's some issues there, like some Pi images will like flip-flop player 1 and player 2, and that's like basic troubleshooting stuff, but there's so much information out there to help you. If you go to the Facebook group I'm in that I have, or like any of the other ones that are arcade or modding focused, like the one JC runs, everyone can answer those questions for you. So like Justin said, the Pi becomes so popular because, for one, it's easy, it's cost effective, and there's a million people in the community to help you. And it runs if you're into retro games, and you don't care about like more of the advanced ones, like you're not going to do, Killer Instinct and some of that stuff quite yet. They're close. So you can pretty much do everything. I mean, it's pretty much everything. So then but you're kind of limited where the front ends are pretty cool, but they're not nearly as advanced as the PC front ends. And that's when you start getting into, if you use a PC to do it, you're going to need a higher skill level. But now your options are Hyperspin, Big Box, Launch Box, Coin Ops. Like you have all of these options.
Right.
So like your sky's the limit on the PC side, and then you can run stuff all the way up to like, Street Fighter 5 or Street Fighter 4, like games that you want to run that are more current, but your skill level it's not like I can jump on a phone call and in 5 minutes teach you how to do the PC version of it.
Right.
The PC version of it's going to take some time and effort to learn.
So the question, what's best? And obviously the answer is different for everybody, but I'll give you my perspective on it. So there's some types of people that want to play the games, right? Like, oh, just give me an image. I'm going to sit down and play. And I'm like that. I do like playing games, but I like learning technology more. That's what I do, right? Like I love learning for my job. It's like I get paid to learn things. Like that's really cool to be in the tech industry. You're constantly learning things. Yeah. So like right now, the current mod that I'm working on is because I have a goal, and that goal is to learn something. And it's to mod using a Neo Geo MVS. It's something I've always wanted to do. Never had a chance to learn it. So I picked up the Neo Geo MVS for, what are they, like $40? Actually, I bought it from DIY Retro Arcade, which we haven't mentioned. He's a good part supplier. So you can get those you can get a Neo Geo MVS for like $30 from AliExpress. He sells them in a kit for just like a little bit more, but you'll get it really quick, right? And actually,
shipping's really quick.
I bought his JAMA harness. And so his JAMA harness is better and cheaper than some alternatives. So it's kind of like you just get his Neo Geo MVS kit, and you're probably about the same price if you bought it directly from AliExpress, all things considered. But it's a complex mod, right? So I pick it up. You buy his kit, it's not plug and play, right? So you have a JAMA harness, but the JAMA harness has RGB. Like we're talking about like raw, high voltage signal RGB that needs to be connected to a super gun. Well, the super guns are like all out of stock, and the ones that are available aren't very good. So I'm looking into do like an RGB mod that can get that signal down to a level that's like SCART capable. Like we're talking about the European standard. Connect that to a RetroTink, up that to HDMI.
But just so you know what you're doing,
it's a lot of work, but
it's way a lot of work.
But in the end, when I get that reward of playing Metal Slug on a 161 kit on my TV or on or on an arcade one-up cabinet with a 20-inch Dell monitor with joysticks connected to it that looks like a Neo Geo, it will be the ultimate reward.
Yeah.
And then I'll beat that game and go, I beat that on original hardware on an arcade one-up with a 20-inch Dell monitor, all using authentic equipment. That's what I'm excited about.
But the flip side of that is, I would argue what you just explained is the advanced side of playing Neo Geo games, because if someone said, I just want to play them and I don't care about all that, I don't care about original hardware, then they're going to go back. There's even a Pi build called like Neo Pi,
right,
where it has like all the Neo Geo games, and it boots up and it shows you the Neo Geo Unibios boot up. It's cool. But like, it just depends, because there are people that are going to say you're crazy for doing that, and then there was people that went, you're nuts for doing a Street Fighter 4 mod where you did all of that to play Street Fighter 4 when you could have just played Street Fighter 4 like Coin Ops or something. So it just depends. But that's what's so cool about the hobby is you can go way like super advanced in one direction, and then you can go, hey, look, you know what? It's super simple. I hooked up a Pandora's box. I followed the wiring diagram. I play these games, and to me, they're fine. It's stretched. I don't care, right? It looks fine to me. So it's just a matter of how far down the road you want to go. And then does the way it ran originally mean so much to you that you want to run original hardware? Because that's when you start getting toward, the original hardware stuff. So
yeah, well,
it's cool.
like for me, I have a lot of those other parts already. I just didn't have the $39 Neo Geo MVS. Yeah. So I was like, this is a pretty cheap investment for a hobby project, right? Like it's like a weekend project. Once I assemble everything, I can put it together. I also picked up a Mister, which has the Neo Geo, core in it, and I also picked up like the little arcade Neo Geo. Like all these things can play like a Metal Slug game on it, but I don't have the experience yet. But I will in a few weeks of playing. Yeah. I'm gonna play Neo Geo on Mister. Then I'm going to play Neo Geo on a real Neo Geo MVS, and then play it on an emulator. And then I can tell you, whether or not Mister is on par with a Neo Geo MVS. Everyone says it is, but I haven't seen that with my own eyes. I believe it is, but that's the hobby to me.
Yeah, no, for sure. Actually, Jeff agrees with you in the comments, and this is funny because I think Justin and I don't. We used to talk about a lot about this, and we haven't more recently, but. He said that modding has been more fun than playing the games themselves. And the funny thing is the thing I like about the modding part of it is that I don't know everything. Like there's no way I could. So I'm learning stuff new every day. Like for instance, CoinOps I was curious about CoinOps because it looks so damn pretty. Like the artwork of CoinOps, if you want the most beautiful front end you could possibly have, it's pretty close to the most beautiful one I've seen. Like the artwork is so good. But it doesn't just plug into every encoder. So like you can't just be like, all right, cool, I got my CoinOps PC, and you plug it in USB encoders and it just works. Like there's stuff you have to learn. Oh wow, the key mapping is different. But the one thing about CoinOps that is true is I plug in a Xbox One or 360 controller and it works out of the box with that. So if I want to just build a CoinOps PC and put it downstairs on my TV and play, have a ball, you can have that set up in an hour. But if you want to put it in a cabinet, it becomes more challenging. There's actually in the Discord, there's a whole group of people just talking about what USB encoders to use. Do you use a Brooks? Do you use, the zero delay? So it can get pretty advanced. Where a Pi, it's almost like the Pi, you can almost give it any encoder and it works. So it's very versatile in that way. So it's hard to kind of mess a Pi up. Plus there's so many tutorials. Everyone knows that the first ever really like start to finish tutorial was the one that ETA Prime did. As far as putting it in an arcade cabinet. And you could follow that tutorial literally today outside of a couple of caveats because some of the boards he's asking you to buy in there or telling you to buy in there don't apply to the Gen 3 arcade 1-ups. But yeah, it's crazy. it's super crazy.
Yeah,
the hobby's nuts.
The hobby is a lot of fun. I mean, for example, I picked up the Mister. You can buy that kit for about $140. And then I got the SD RAM update. And so a couple weeks ago, I started playing with it, and I was like, okay, so I need controllers because that's part of it, right? So it's loading the SD card, giving it power, connecting it to a TV, and then you need inputs. Like really, Raspberry Pi, same thing. And that's why I can say that is because I started playing with Pi a couple of years ago, like 2014 or so. Played with that. I understand the concept. Play with Mister, and now I'm going, wait, Mister and Raspberry Pi actually have so much in common in the sense that from what you need to do to set it up is load an SD image, put it into the thing, plug it into your TV, and get controls. Both same thing. So anyway, when I was looking around for controls, I literally grabbed the Sony PlayStation USB from the PlayStation Classic, the thing no one ever plays. So I picked up the PlayStation Classic for like $15, and it comes with two. And those were like right there on my, like right near me. And I picked it up, plugged it into the Mister. It just worked. Like it was great. Yeah. Like there was almost no setup to get that controller to work. And
dude, there's a lot of chat playing games right away. There's a lot of chat going on that kind of feeds into this idea that like the modding part becomes so addictive. So someone said, I don't know if I agree with you on this one, DB. You said that like once you're done with the modding, you let down. I mean, you're let down. I actually really enjoy the. So for me, and I think Justin and I have talked about this, it depends for me, what he means by for me, it's a sense of accomplishment. I don't know what he means by being let down. Yeah. I actually feel very accomplished when I'm done with a mod.
Right. It could be, and I think I know what he means. He may mean you feel like a sense of accomplishment, right? And you're like, man, this is great. And then a day or two goes by, and you're like,
okay, like
now
more
what?
of a. So you think he's saying it's more of like a drug effect where. Like it's a high that you got it done and you want to go to the next one. I totally, if that's the angle you're taking, if that's what DB means, I completely agree with that. because that does happen. I mean, that is why that's why I have a storage room filled with them. Like that is true. And the funny thing is like I could literally be like, you know what? Let's just stop the channel tomorrow because all I'm really doing is finding other ways to play the same games. So,
Right.
I mean, it is fun, but like that is really what we're all doing. We're like, oh, okay, the Legends Ultimate is another way to accomplish something. The II Arcade is another way to accomplish something. A Pandora's Box, another way. Pi, PC, they all achieve the same goal to some degree. Some better than others, some easier than others. But if the goal is play retro games, but I think the thing that I love the most personally is trying to figure out how to get it to work. I do love the games, don't get me wrong, but there's also that challenge of, oh, you hit a snag and you got to go look and do your research. And that's actually funny. There's the funny thing, Justin, someone asked me the other day, they said, because I'm working on a video that we'll talk about at the end, and I'm afraid to publish this video.
What? You have fear?
I'm afraid to publish the video.
What is it?
Because there's so many variables to the thing I'm going to show that I'm afraid that I never ever be able to do it justice, because there's so many areas where I got stuck that I can't even like remember how to document what I did. Like there was a spot that I got something working and I'm like, crap, I don't remember what I did. You know what I mean? Have you ever had that before where you hacked so much at something that you actually like forgot to document the fix? So now you're like, crap, I don't remember if it was this option that fixed it or that one.
Yeah.
So that's tough because it's hard for me now. This isn't a complaint. It's just when the channel was really small, it was like 500 subscribers. When someone would have a problem, it was really, I could answer every single person. Like it was awesome. Like it was very manageable. But now there's emails that have been in my inbox now for a couple weeks because there's Facebook messages, there's YouTube comments, there's Twitter messages, there's Instagram messages. So it's gotten to the point where I can't keep up. And that really does make me kind of sad because I want to be able to help as many people, but it's really hard to keep up now. So that's why I love the Facebook group that we have, because the community has like, it's running it itself, really. I mean, people are going in and asking questions. Even Nikki's comment, modding has become an addiction. Once another cab done, you're looking for another project. It's true, but I bet Nikki would say the same thing, that it's about the like learning process that's so fun. I don't know. At least that's my take on it.
Yeah, I don't want to get too off topic, but I wanted to kind of in the topic of excitement about new things coming out and modding. There was this new thing that I just hit on my radar called Necessity. I didn't tell you about this, Ralph, but I'm like, yesterday I saw it and I was like, I'll actually share the screen real quick. I hope it's not too off topic, but it's just an example of, here it is. I think I can pull it up. It's an example of me getting super, super excited, and I'll explain why. So this, again, maybe this has been out for a while. I just saw it. It's $45 is the PCB that you can buy, and it's the original Nintendo, the front loader, right? Someone built a PCB that... So
that's like basically a replica of the internal
It's a replica
parts?
of the inside. I have, I don't know, about 30 front loaders in various states that are totally broken. And to me, this is a cheap, again, this is how I could spend a weekend.
Guts? Like, is that the full guts? Like, you could literally go shove that in and you're good?
No. So you spend $45, you're going to get the PCB. And again, this is based on what I understand about it. $45, you're there. But then they have the build of material link in here. And you can't show it. I can't show it to you. But it gives you the parts list that you can get from like DigiKey and Mauser, which collectively is $15, right? And then you basically pick and place, you solder it yourself, and you're going to pull the PPU and the CPU from the original. But I think everything else, I was planning on doing this, but make everything sockets. And so basically, if I want to do like an NES, a Nintendo repair, I could pull parts from an original Nintendo that I think is broken and put it in this, and then see if it, basically I have a test board. But literally yesterday, I was all like, this is so cool. And here's the excitement of it, right? And and coming back to our main point, this is why I enjoy doing the modding, is because I want to do this. I hope I can accomplish it. I want there to be a day where I solder every single part on that PCB. and I get it all working, and I'm only borrowing the 2 chips from an original, and everything else is just brand new. And I fire it up, and I play Mario, and I beat Mario, and I go, look, I just beat Mario with a PCB that I built myself, kind of. I assembled it. That's really cool. Like, to me, that's an exciting thing.
That is cool. Yeah, that's very cool. And I think we're going to see more and more stuff like that hit the market, which is totally cool for both consoles and arcades. I mean, there's a whole other topic. I wanted to get us back on track real quick, but we missed one aesthetic thing that I find really awesome on these cabinets. Whether you're doing a Rec Room Masters, Game Room Solutions, an arcade 1-up. I don't think they look as good on NAC games, by the way, but coin doors, Coin doors don't look right on NAC games to me because it's so wide. It just doesn't look right, but they look really good on an arcade 1-up. You put a coin door on an arcade 1-up, it looks awesome. Actually, I took away the Miss Pac-Man one for now, but they just look great, and you can make them functional if you want to. Like, if you use a Pi, you can just map the coins to the select buttons, which would be your coin buttons if you don't have stuff on free play. So that's just fun to be able to put a quarter in. It's a really easy thing to do. X Arcade makes a great coin door that's really easy to configure. So that's the one I usually use. There's other ones like Twisted Quarter that makes good ones too. I just find the X Arcade one's great. That's something that Tulsa Arcades does. That's something that Scott Evans does. It's really cool because they give you the front panel with the cutout already. If you don't feel comfortable with like a hacksaw or anything like that, you can do that yourself, or a jigsaw rather. So it's kind of cool. Like, I love the coin doors, but circling back on the PC, on the options for sort of what you'd run your games on.
Yep.
The problem with what's the best is tough because it's going to be based on what your skill level is. That's really what it boils down to.
And maybe what your goal is.
Yeah, that too. But I mean, it's not impossible to get. You can go out online and get a lot of guidance around PCs. Now you can,
or maybe what your budget is.
Yeah. But you can build your own PC, but there's a company that I work with a little bit called Arcade-1, not Arcade 1-Up, but Arcade-1. This guy, Carlos, he makes a really awesome hyperspin build. Now, he works with specific encoder boards, and he tells you how exactly those need to be wired. But if you wanted it's not a plug and play, but if you wanted someone to build the PC for you, and all you're doing is getting the encoder boards and wiring it, Arcade-1 is a really good place to go. So you're going to pay more though, right? Like, you could buy a $90 PC and throw coin ops on it. You go to the Carlos route, you're going to pay like $500 for it. So it's just a matter of what your budget is.
So before we go to the next topic, we got a couple super chats. You want to answer that one, Ralph?
Yeah. So does Twin Galaxies treat Arcade 1-Up as official equipment? I don't know that, but I'm going to guess hell no on that. I'm going to say that there is no way they treat it like original equipment. I do wonder if they treat arcade ROMs on a Mister as original equipment. I'm going to guess no on that too.
But it's an interesting thought, right?
But they kind of should. But I don't think they do. All right, Sling Spades. Thank you for the super chat. So sorry to interrupt, but is Arcade 1-Up doing a summer reveal since E3 is canceled? Anyone know? So they haven't been sharing a lot with me lately when I ask. They're definitely going to have some announcements, but they're not telling me at least. I've asked a couple times, and I get to the point where I'm talking to either John D or David, and they're not giving me any kind of guidance right now, but they are announcing things. They're going to still announce things. I just don't have like a good concrete answer to that. As to like when, I would guess it'd be sometime in the next couple months, because it's going to be across the time that E3. Anything that they would have announced then is probably going to get still announced, but it's how they announce it, which is going to be interesting. I had this idea. Justin and I were talking about it. Remember when I gave you that idea that they should rent an old warehouse?
Mm-hmm.
So I thought they should rent an old warehouse, do a live stream, like set it up like it's an arcade, and have all their games in there that they've already released. And then shuffled in between those games, have the ones that are not revealed yet covered, and then have people. This part's kind of a stretch. I was like, have people from in the community that are really excited, maybe have been evangelists or whatever, come there and they do the reveals on their behalf. I have no idea whether they would do any of that, but it'd be cool. Like, I'm thinking like a really funky, cool old warehouse, like something that just looks like really badass. Right. And do it in there, but decorate it like an old school arcade. I just thought that'd be cool, but
that'd be really cool.
Do it as a live event though,
Yeah.
Social distancing, of course.
Yeah, it'd be really cool. Maybe they do it over Zoom, You like we do. They connect all of the fans, enough fans,
That'd be
get
cool.
one of, and then everyone mute, and then they do the reveal, but then it's like live on YouTube.
So DB has a super chat. He said, Ralph, did you get your side and light gun? I saw he's doing a second round of orders. So the as far as I know, the last update was a couple days ago, and they were saying around August/September is when the first shipment should arrive. I think I was in the round 1 Kickstarter for that, so I'm really excited. The gun looks sweet. He looks like he's got the recoil PCB. He's going to get that out in time, because initially he was thinking he was going to have to ship the gun without the recoil PCB, and you had to open it up and add it. That would have kind of sucked. But I'm super excited about this. And then, Justin, what's the console that adopted his technology? Is it the Polymega?
Yep.
Yeah, so the Polymega is going to actually use the Sinden technology, so that's pretty cool. I'm super hyped on this thing. I know there are people in the community that think it's not coming out. I 100% think it's going to come out. I do, 100%. And it's going to really revolutionize, I think, how we play light guns on modern displays, because it's actually going to be good.
Yeah. Modding cocktail cabinets is kind of a cool concept that a lot of people don't. I mean, you don't see that often in the community, people doing that, but that's an interesting one. I think one of the problems is the cocktail cabinet. If you're already limited in space, then you have to kind of put it in an area of your room where there's plenty of room around it for you to sit down, right? And then, honestly, that's why I've not bought one, is because I'm like, where would I put it? You know what I mean? And it's an arcade 1-up. You just kind of put it up against the wall and you can walk up to it and play it. But then the cocktail, you need room on both sides, right?
Well, let me tell you something about cocktail cabinets that are interesting. So my second ever arcade machine was a cocktail cabinet.
Mm-hmm.
I like them, but here's the thing. They are terrible at long-term playing sessions.
Right.
Because
You're
imagine,
just like looking straight.
Yeah. On your body, they're terrible because you're doing this. It actually kind of sucks. It's a cool, to me, why I would want a cocktail cabinet. If I was like a single dude and I'm like, hey, Justin, you're single too. We'll play this fictitious, we're both single and non-married, whatever. We're young, right? We're young. We're not, we haven't fallen in love yet. I'd be like, Justin, come on over, buddy. And we have a beer on each side and we're playing a game together. Like, it's a very awesome interactive way to play a game with another person. The problem is it's just killer on your body to play. It's not fun.
I kind of remember that at a pizza parlor. I remember when I was a kid, I would play. I'm pretty sure it was a Miss Pac-Man, I want to say. And I remember
they had
playing
Miss
it.
Pac-Man ones. They had Galaga's. They had.
And after a while, I was
yeah.
like, "What is up with my neck?" And I was like 8 or something.
Yeah, dude, it hurt. It hurt. They hurt. I remember my son when he was little. We had one, and it was funny. My first mod to an arcade cabinet was actually modding I modded a cocktail cabinet. I have a buddy that does metal. He does like metal work. He built me a bracket to mount the monitor to the. So basically, you were playing like this, but it was up here, so you weren't even looking down. I replicated the screens, so you could look down if you wanted. But I mounted a screen to the cabinet. It was stupid because at that point I had built a regular arcade machine. But yeah, I'm just not a fan. I like the arcade 1-up one though a lot. Like I have that one in storage, the Black Series. Playing Street Fighter that way is really actually pretty cool. It's very engaging with the other person and it's fun, but I don't know. That's the only reason why I haven't gone through the point of modding it, because I had that experience back in the day. It hurt my neck, so I don't really have like this big love for cocktail cabinets. But to your point, Justin, the first cocktail cabinet I ever played was in a Chinese restaurant called Asia. It was called Asia. It was in Lincoln, Rhode Island, and it was Galaga. And I was playing it as a kid. But I only played it for like 5 minutes, and they're like, "Oh, your table is ready." You know what I mean? And I was a kid.
Right.
I was like, "Oh, cool." But long-term gameplay, it's just not fun.
Right. So I think that did we talk about the monitor upgrade kits? Because surprisingly,
so that's a huge
a
angle,
large
too.
amount of people are.
Holy crap,
That might be one of the biggest mods out there, right?
Dude. So this is so crazy. So the Dell,
if Arcade 1-up is listening, wouldn't they be selling Arcade 1-ups with 20-inch monitors? Because I think it's one of the most popular mods.
It is. So the crazy thing is, so the 2007 FB is the monitor that, or is it FP? I can't remember. I think it's FP. I can't remember if it's FP or FB for some reason right now.
FSB?
I think it's no, I think it's
the B
FP.
stands for business, and I think the B's at the end,
that's
right?
it. Yeah, yes. So the FP or FB, whatever. I think the business one doesn't even matter. So everyone started modding your arcade with these Dell Ultra Sharp 2007 20-inch monitors. The reason why is that it's very, very difficult to find a 4x3 monitor that's like this with these kind of connections. They don't even make them anymore. So this was like a really popular option. So everyone started making them. Well, JC over at Tulsa Arcades was like, he thought of this as a business opportunity. He's like, holy crap, I could make mount kits that make it super easy to mount that thing in your cabinet. So it got so crazy. There is a huge amount of these 2007s sitting around in warehouses and stuff. At one point, it got so out of control that on eBay, these vendors were probably like, they resold old
how much were they going for
business.
Originally? Like,
it was like $30. Like no one even cared. Yeah, no one cared.
And you go look at other monitors that are around the same size but don't have all the bells and whistles that the 2007P does. And they go for like $30-$40, right? And now I just picked up one. I think I paid $140 for it.
Yeah, no, they're stupid expensive now. But here's what's so crazy is imagine being the guys that their job is like recycling equipment like this, right? Because there's places like this all over the place. So there was a guy at some point being like, dude, why are we selling a ton of 2007 FPs all of a sudden? And that was because of us. Like we all were buying them.
The community, right?
Yeah, that's what I meant. Like everyone here, right? And and now it got to the point that on eBay it would say like compatible with Arcade 1-Up. Now it's not compatible with Arcade 1-Up at all, really.
Not really.
It's just you can put it in. It's not like you can like go up to your cabinet and just put it in and it goes. You need the mount kit, you need a bezel and all that stuff. But JC has perfected the mounting kit for the 2007 FP. So if it's something where that's what you want, if you can find one now, they're really hard to find. But I looked locally on Craigslist and there were several available on Craigslist, and I was like, but I don't know, and they don't know that they're Arcade 1-Up compatible, but I ended up just buying from a reputable place on eBay because it was just like random people on Craigslist that had them available, and I don't know, it all the sales on Craigslist I've done sometimes are sketchy, and anyway, whatever. Yeah, so it's just one of those things that they're kind of starting to dry up, unfortunately. So it'll be interesting to see. I think we need to find an alternative, but that's the thing. So, and Justin, this is totally your topic, but remember that website you can go to where you can look at panels? It'll look at different LCD panels. Well, the problem ends up being is as you start getting into the reason why Arcade 1-Up, I'm sure, uses 17 inch is because you can find 17 inch that has the right aspect ratio for these old games. When you start getting into these larger monitors, they're not making them anymore, so they're widescreen now. So that actually becomes a challenge unless you actually put a widescreen in and somehow like you don't use the sides, right? You force it into 4:3 and then you just like create a bezel where you're, what I mean? That would be wasteful. So the good thing is you go to that panel website, it actually ties you back to manufacturers. There is a ton of these BOE 17-inch monitors out there. Yeah. And who knows who BOE used to make these for? They could have been medical for all we know, right? And they're like, crap, we have 50,000 of these things left. Sell them to this Arcade 1-Up company because they seem to want them. So
I did a little research, and I think I have it bookmarked somewhere. I was talking to JC about it because he's obviously moving a lot of these kits, and there was actually another, and I don't want to mention what it is because then that will become like out of stock, but I'll explain the concept. The concept is there are other Dell-like older panels that are available currently on the market so the Dell itself has DVI S-Video, right, as an input. And so you can connect a Raspberry Pi to that. But which one of them, if you take the actual, what is it called? That piece, it's like an inverter board or converter board, the thing that's actually changing it.
The VS display board?
Yeah, kind of like that. Like that adapter that we buy is so you can go HDMI to LVDS.
Yeah.
So I was like, how many?
Do that if you replace the monitor.
What if you just take the Dell monitor and take all of its parts off? There's an LVDS on the inside.
Yeah.
And so that's what I started looking for, is a drop-in replacement to an arcade one-up cabinet where you buy it, then remove all the parts from it, and what you have, you need to supply it power and LVDS directly from the arcade one-up PCB.
Yeah.
And
So
it looks like
the only monitor I found myself that worked with the Gen, guys, don't do this because you will ruin your Gen 3s. On a Gen 1, there's one monitor out there that I found that was wired the same LVDS pinout as the Gen 1 PCB, and it's a company called Holland Computer. They sell a 19-inch arcade LCD. If you strip all the back off of it, you end up with a raw LVDS wire that you can plug right into your arcade one-up PCB, and it will work.
Right.
But the thing is, they changed some of the pinouts on Gen 3, so they won't. But I was kind of excited. The problem is that Holland Computer sells this monitor for an ungodly amount of money. It's like $200. So
I was trying to find something that's more consumer grade and highly available. So eventually, I think someone's got to make the plunge. That's the thing. Like, I was there. I was like, all the spec is there. It was like whatever, 30 pin or 40 pin. That was accurate. How many? It's like an 8-bit versus 10-bit. There's all these variations, and if you have that all lined up, then it should meet the spec and it should work. But someone's got to spend the $70 to try it out, and maybe it won't work.
You guys also need to be careful. Now, I've been asking Justin to make this video for a while now, and it is such up his alley. Tell me, I'm going to tell you guys the video, and you put a 1 in the description or in the chat if you want him to make this
video. You're going to make me make a video now, right?
I told him, why don't you take a Gen 1, like, so basically you take a Gen 1, I lost my train of thought.
Arcade one-up PCB?
Yeah. Take a Gen 1 arcade one-up PCB and tell them what VS display board they need. Take a Gen 3 arcade one-up PCB and tell them what kind of VS display board they need. Sorry, no, let me start over. I'm totally all over the place.
This is why you wouldn't be good at making this video, right?
The monitor. So there's really 3 different arcade one-up monitors. There's the original Gen 1, there's a 1.5, and then there's like a 2 that came later. The 2 is in the 3, Gen 3s and everything. But the thing is, different VS display boards work with those because the LVDS pinouts are different. So I thought it'd be cool for Justin to make a video, since he loves monitors so much, where he shows every monitor you can get stock and the exact VS display board you need. But because Justin's so good at explaining monitor resolutions, take it a step deeper and just give you guys education on why does it work, or why do I need this one? Because the thing is, the resolutions changed and those monitors. So I think you should
sounds
make
good, but my new challenge, this is good, but I got to make it in the format of a music video. That's fun.
Jeff,
I'm in.
He should, because if you can make it short enough that it's still fun to watch.
Dude, I was going to do this one too. There's like a whole bunch of these scanline generators that you can get out there that are lag free. And I was like, which one of these are operating at the same signal as like an LVDS and add. I was going to look into it, but again, it's one of those things where it's like, I have a problem. Like, whenever I dig deep into like a weekend project, I have to be confident that I'm going to have an outcome. Because I have and you like this too, Ralph, I have a list of things I have a Wii with an HDMI mod that's sitting on my shelf for a year that I haven't touched. I want to do it, haven't done it. I got an RGB mod for a GameCube, like I haven't done. And so I have to be very selective with my impulses.
But can I tell you why I want you to do this video so bad? Is because we've got all these people. So like before, people were stopping buying the Gen 1. So everyone understood how to mod the Gen 1s. Well, now these newer machines are coming out. And if you let's say you go back and watch that ETA Prime video, this isn't anything against him. It's just at the time, that's how you modded it with that VS display board. But now you have to use a different one. And it could have some ramifications where if you put it in wrong, you could actually blow the screen out. So you have to be careful. Like, the power has moved, I think, on some of them. I think the new ones, they like moved it. So like the pin 1 is actually on the other side of the LVDS connection. So imagine how much it would suck to come home, you're all excited to start your mod, and you plug in your VS display board and you burn out your monitor. You know what I mean? Like, that would suck. So just be careful if you guys are trying to modify the newer generation ones. Make sure that you're getting the right VS display board. So hopefully I can convince Justin to make that video eventually, because I know I'm not going to make it, because he would do a much better job than I would. So I'm hoping that I can get him to do it.
Okay.
So there was a super chat by Zohar. He said, we should just all write strongly worded letters to Arcade 1-Up and demand 20-inch monitors on all future cabs. So I kind of go like two ways with this. I like the larger screen, but I also feel like depending on how picky you are about that stuff, you are relatively close to an Arcade 1-Up when you play it.
That's true.
So like, it not, you know, for games like when I was doing the House of the Dead mod, the 20-inch monitor made a huge difference to me. It just seemed like, I don't know, I had tried it initially on the Arcade 1-Up monitor, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it was a night and day thing. I liked it better on 20, so I went with 20. So it's going to be one of those like preference things, right? I doubt we'll see them do a 20-inch monitor in the near term, maybe down the road if they decide to go that way. But
So I have this idea, Ralph. I think we should do a part 2 of this show.
I think so. I didn't realize how.
Hold on.
Yeah.
The part 2 of the show starts in 5 minutes.
What?
Are you ready? In 5 minutes. Don't go. The show is not ending. We are taking a mid-break, aren't we, Ralph? That's right. So Ralph doesn't know I'm doing
we're
this.
not taking a mid-break. Kim will
Yeah,
kill
we're
me.
taking
No, we're not.
No, we're going to have Kim be killed. So check this out.
What?
Kim's going to kill you. Yeah, see, everyone's hitting ones. She'll
No,
understand.
we're not doing a mid-break.
Check it out.
No, I really can't do a mid-break, though.
Yeah, so this is...
Oh,
check it out. Don't leave. It's not a final thoughts. It's inner thoughts. Intermission thoughts.
No, I'm not doing it. We're not doing intermission thoughts. This is final thoughts.
In this episode, we talked about how
Intermission thoughts. Oh my gosh.
RetroRalph knows an ungodly amount of information about modding your Arcade 1-Up cabinets. He's literally done over 100 videos, at least on YouTube, about modding. And no one knows that because they probably only watched 3 of them.
What? This is
He made a video.
Final thoughts.
He made a video every 4 days, but no one noticed. Every
That's true, actually.
4 days for a whole year. And that's the truth. And that's how he got 30,000 subscribers, or close to. You think it's because he's good. No, he just saturated the market. And it was so good that I recognized this.
Oh.
And I was all like, I can't do a video every 4 days. I can only do a 4-minute video every 2 weeks. And in the process of doing that, I got about 3,000 subscribers. And I noticed that RetroRalph is a really good YouTuber. And I'll just pretend I'm good by making a podcast with him. So this has been the One Up Weekly, produced by Ralph Ronzio and Justin Dolan. And none of this was planned, and Ralph is cracking up because it's all true.
And someone else agrees with you, so.
All truth. And guess what? The show's not over.
Okay, the show.
It's just getting started.
Okay, no, that's not true. The show is ending soon. But can I show
So this is now part 2 of
No, we
Pimp,
can't do part 2.
your arcade.
We cannot do part 2. I'm not even joking.
Welcome
Cannot do
everyone to
two.
part
No,
2.
Oh my god, Zohar, I'm confused too. I can't do part 2. Okay, I just want to show the last thing so we can go because I gotta spend time with Kim.
All right.
I told her I would. All right, so let's go to the.
I say we can't go. We can't go. Like a whole bunch of people have to hit like. And once we get to like 50 likes, then we'll go.
Will you stop? Hold on.
Once we go below 200 concurrent, then we'll leave.
Hold on, I gotta show this really quick. Here, get to the table cam really quick. So this is do the table cam, please. Thank you. So this right here is a project I'm working on. So this is actually the reason why the Marvel cabinet is back up here is that there's a guy that I'm working with. His name is his company is called 8-Bit Roots. And he's
I love that name. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a really cool name. Yeah, it's a really cool name. So the name of his company is 8-Bit Roots. So he's working on productizing these sort of LCD displays for your marquee. So right now it works with a tracked mode on RetroPie, and there's the problem with this is the video I'm nervous about because it takes a lot to get this working, and then when you do get it working, there's just like you got to have the images and all that stuff. But his idea is not to necessarily send you something that's going to out of the box be like a plug and play thing, but give you sort of some guidance about how to do it. And then I don't know yet if he's going to custom make all of these, but I really like what he did here because he basically made it look like the Marvel cab. He matched the T-molding. If you look, he's got the yellow T-molding on there. And I still have the reason why this looks a little faded is because I still have the protective coating on the piece of plexi right here. But I'm really excited about this video. But you guys got to cut me some slack because this is not something, I'm going to say it in the video too. It's not something I'm an expert on. I'm probably going to have to throw the disclaimer out that a lot of this is new to me. So I don't build custom images for these things, but I'm really excited because it works really well and it looks awesome. So I'm super excited about this. So this is something that I'll be working on this week to hopefully get the video out. And the 8-Bit Roots guy, like he's super excited about the video. He's a smaller company. He sells a couple little one-up mod products, but this is his kind of new baby that he's trying to get into. And I love that people think I don't love the Pixel game. So, hey, look, here's the thing. We all have products that we like or dislike for different reasons. I don't dislike it. I think it's an innovative, cool thing. I just am not a fan of the look of it, right? It looks kind of light bright-ish to me. And I'm not a fan of the look. I would rather it look like a real high def image than that. So that's all. It's not a diss. Oops. It's just not for me.
Well, I think what I like about that is it's always good to see, different ideas being explored. So we should all be supporters of that. Even if there's another product out there that you're like, no, this one's already great. Well, this other one is completely different avenue. And so that's pretty cool.
And someone may like that whole look of it. And then if they do, then it's awesome, right? So there you go. There is one thing. So Justin, I want to show you one more quick thing. Hold on one sec.
Yep.
So when we start talking about getting crazy and doing crazy things in the world of gaming and everything, this is one of the things I've been kind of really excited. It's been consuming some of my time. But what you're looking at, oh shoot, sorry guys, I just turned my camera off. Sorry.
What is happening?
All right, that's back.
Okay.
So one of the things I've been working on is this guy right here. And I know you're probably saying, what the heck is this?
What the heck is this?
So this is actually it's going to be confusing. This is a Capcom CPS2 A board on the bottom.
The only word I understood was Capcom.
And on the top, this is actually something called a Dark Soft mod. So what this is it replaces the game board. This was actually a Marvel versus Capcom. It replaces the game board, and it allows you to use original arcade hardware to load multiple games. So it's turning it's turning an arcade into a multicade with the original hardware.
So it's like an EverDrive for your arcade.
Yeah, it's crazy. So this little thing right here, you basically mount this on your arcade, and then when it's on, I'm going to do a video on this soon. When it's on, you cycle through the games right here, and then you go, all right, hey, I want to play Punisher. Bam. And then it will load Punisher. But what it's doing is it's actually loading it instead of, obviously there's no RAM chips on this anymore or ROM chips on it anymore. It loads it to the Dark Soft board, and then it plays the game. It's insane. This thing is so cool. If you're into arcades, this thing is the coolest piece of arcade technology I've ever touched. This is little kid in a candy store kind of stuff for me. So anyways, I thought I'd share that.
We all have our different reasons why we like this hobby. That's for sure. So I think it's time. I got one for you, Ralph. I wrote it while I was off screen just a second ago. And it's about the show. Really quick. You ready? Don't interrupt me. It goes like this. He's a good boy, loves doing mods and his arcades and his one-ups too. He's a bad boy, cause he sideloads his games and likes Pandora's box and the Raspberry Pis. Now we're free playing. Yes, woof. Anyway, that song's about Cowboy Ralph. All right.
We are free. We are free playing.
We're free playing.
A lot of what we're doing is free playing. That's for sure. Whether it's legit or not, I don't know.
Yeah.
But we'll. All right, guys. I don't think I have we don't have time for final thoughts. I think we're just going to do no final thoughts tonight, unless you want me to come up with some final thoughts.
Let's see. Well, let's do final thoughts, because then it'll turn into who's better. Whose final thoughts was better, Ralph's or Justin? So go ahead. All the pressure is on Ralph. Don't answer yet, because you haven't heard Ralph's yet. Ready? Here we go.
All right. Hey guys, it's final thoughts time. We learned today that there's multiple ways to play arcade games, and we learned that every single one of them is highly illegal. And we learned that everyone on this call and everyone in the chat would get arrested immediately if anyone really gave a shit. But no one really does, so it's okay. So we will all continue to remain in the gray area, and life will be grand as we play retro games. Except for Nintendo, because they will come to your house and literally murder you and every single one of your family members. Now, we also learned that there's an enormous amount of wealth of experience in the industry here that we live in of home arcades. And there's many vendors you can choose from, and they're all really great. They've actually built their own businesses based on these products that just came out a couple years ago, and that's pretty damn exciting. We also learned that Justin can be a gigantic jerk. But hey, I didn't know about it, and so I got to experience his jerk behavior live on air. Oh, what?
Hey.
I'm just kidding.
All
Okay.
right.
All right, that's it.
Is that it, or is there one
I'm
more
just
thing for you guys?
I don't have anything else. Do you?
I got one more
You
thing.
do? Okay, of course we do. Tonight you're full of surprises, huh?
Closing time.
Oh, yeah.
Open up the doors and let you out into the world. Closing time. You don't have to go home, told you can't stay here. I know who I want to take me home. I know who I want to take me home. Closing time. Every new beginning. Go ahead, Ralph.
From some other beginnings. And I arcade. Oh, just kidding. That was a joke. I am out of here. And we'll see you on
the next
the
one.
next one. Take care, guys.
See ya.
Have
You
a good
hit
rest
the
of
end
the
button,
weekend.
not me.
I'm hitting it.
All right, see ya.